Hey all, Tabs here, back playing some more Planet Zoo. So we are back with a super short one-off habitat. So speed build section, and obviously as usual, speed build, and then there'll be the tour at the end. So this is, as I said, just a kind of one-off thing, standalone project. It'll be up on the workshop as a park file. It's actually ended up being too big to be downloaded as a habitat, unfortunately. I might do something about that in the future. But for now, I'm kind of it'll be up as a park file. So, yeah, loosely inspired by the Flamingo Habitat at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. Very sort of weirdly in the hotel grounds. Actually, kind of in the pool area, they have this sort of little lagoon bit for flamingos to hang out. So you should see here, we've just kind of created this pro forma section, which is always a good way of making shapes and stuff. So yeah, if you want circles, make something that you can copy round and then get these nice kind of curved sections. So I just made a big circle, a big ring of the thing I'd created, and then I've chopped those into individual kind of quadrants to create these steps. So the concept really was just kind of was pretty loose when I started it. It was just an idea in my head that it would look like it's sort of almost like a big fountain that they're in, like a cross section of a fountain. And as I said, no real kind of plan other than just a sort of a concept. I don't really ever have a plan. I know that probably makes me a little bit inefficient and definitely makes me redo things and try things. But I think that helps me in this sort of creative process because I'm not limited by what I can think of kind of on the spot, or what I can draw, and so I just kind of do and then see what comes of it. And actually what generally tends to happen is if I don't overthink it too much before I start, I cause myself these little problems, and actually the problems, although they slow me down, are actually the things that drive me to kind of come up with creative little ideas. It's the classic happy little accidents that lead to new kind of ideas and layouts and things. And so actually there was definitely a major part of that happened in this habitat. So it hadn't really occurred to me how I'd get the animals up and down and how I'd get the guests to see. So just addressing the first bit with the getting the animals and actually the keepers up and down in this tiered layout. This was how I sort of decided to do it. So I think I've done this before, and I think I've seen other people do this, but it's a good little tip if you didn't really kind of know how to do this, is to use the stairs, the path stairs that the game generates, and create your own set of stairs that you can then drop into the habitat. And obviously what you know when you do that is that they're never going to be too steep for a keeper to get up. And I'm pretty sure that the keepers generally, most animals, I don't know if I'm 100% sure on this, but I think most of the animals, if a keeper can get up the steepness of a slope, an animal can as well. Obviously the width of their hitbox is different. This thing you'll have seen definitely in the thumbnail as well, but I wanted to make it look like it was like a tiled, almost like an ornate pool. It's quite OTT for me. This is all quite gaudy and a bit of quite an exaggerated thing to see in a zoo, but it was just fun, really. It was just an idea. I end up using these some of the little Aboriginal art pieces, the little light up things that came in the Aborigine pack, and if you use these kind of muted colours, they look really great. The only downside is obviously that they light up, and unfortunately you can't turn these off, so they don't work in the same way that the normal lights do. So it does look a little bit much in the night, because everything obviously ends up kind of illuminated and glowing. It's not too bad. Could kind of plausibly look like it's a reflection. of the light from the surrounding area. So as you've seen, I've done it all over the floor here as well. Randomised the colours just to give it some nice texture and some variance and things. Put some details in down the bottom here. Just adding a few bits in that kind of don't go too heavily into it, but kind of just make a little bit of a gesture at the idea of the water management. So obviously the water is pumping out of the top through the fountains, comes down, is regulated through these kind of these grills, and there's a couple of little taps down the bottom here that just just a gesture at being able to refill the bottom if they wanted to as well. So this was the big thing that was the big kind of the big thing that I kind of stumbled across as I was doing it, because I was like, okay, I created this kind of little sunken well from them, and I was really happy with the way it looked, but hadn't really thought, okay, the guests won't actually be able to see down in there unless I have them right up against the edge, and if I have them right up against the edge, then the habitat becomes really small, or the area that I've created becomes really small. So that led me to this idea of raising the whole thing up. Raising it up, but actually sinking it down. So you see that I bring all the terrain up, put the path next to it, bring all the terrain up. Obviously when you do that you get all these kind of janky edges, so I had to hide all that with the mulch, as you see me doing here, which is fine, which gives it kind of, flower beds and things. And once you kind of bed it in enough and do enough work, none of this stuff really notices. And it's a common thing that I did definitely when I started, and actually going back to my franchise zoo from when I started at Planet Zoo. One of the things I noticed is people don't really, I definitely don't spend enough time before I start the zoo working on the terrain, and actually, so it's good to have terrain shifts and variance and hills and things like that. So this actually does work quite well with that. That's obviously my excuse anyway, how I've kind of justified this. Just working on some really sort of simple, concrete-y backstage areas. I really like doing this. I really like having things that are really kind of, on the guest-facing stuff, really kind of over the top and very kind of hyper-designed and over-engineered and all that sort of thing. And then you kind of juxtapose that with a really simple backstage area. That was a big jump. I actually lost some footage there, but we'll see all of this in the tour anyway when we do the real-time tour. So this is just adding a sort of custom fence around the edge. Flamingos obviously I think they tend to be tagged, or they have something that stops them generally from sort of jumping out and flying away, but I didn't really worry about it too much. There's a few places where in reality they'd be able to jump the fence, but yeah, I'm just trying to have fun with the game, really, not obsess on it too much. So that is the end of the speed build. Catch you any minute for the tour. Right, it's a beautiful day. Welcome to the tour. So there's a few guests here, not loads, but we'll do a little wander around, show you the things that you didn't see in the speed build there. Generally always happens is that there's big chunks of stuff that I miss out from the speed build because there's just too much footage, or I fiddle after the fact, which often also happens as well. So yeah, lots of lushness. Obviously, I'm kind of trying to make sure it doesn't look like it's on an empty map. So yeah, generally always kind of fill the gaps in. We'll go that way in a minute. We'll go this way first. Not loads to see, but yeah, there's always extra details. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I'm really happy with the fact that it's quite lush in the actual habitat now. It does almost feel like something you've kind of discovered in the rainforest. And actually the performance is pretty good for my PC. I can't vouch if you've done it yourself. I can't vouch that that'll be the same. It's slightly undersized for the water they've got. So yeah, just put some education things in if you've seen Serenity, or I think I did this on another one as well. So I've started doing this kind of Attenborough audio experience thing. It's like an education board. The actual flamingo there is from a board that I took off of Wyatt Andrews' workshop, so I'll make sure I'll link that in the description below. And yeah, I do this quite often, just little interesting facts about the animal. So basically just saying, is that a knee or is that an ankle? It's actually, weirdly, it's the ankle of the bird. The knee is much higher up. Strange, which is maybe one of the reasons why they can stand for so long. Oh, hello, we've got a miracle bird down there. We'll ignore him. So we'll go this way first. I mean, obviously it gets to pretty much backstage very quickly and not an enormous amount to see down here. Let's just speed up a bit. So this is obviously just kind of dead end here. But we'll go into the habitat. I didn't do a load here. This is very, very low ceiling. Just kind of wanted to create an idea of there being some backstage. There's this kind of folding door. This idea that it kind of just slots into that little slot over there. And let's actually go into the habitat. Check these guys out. So I haven't used these before. They're very cool, I have to say. They're a really interesting looking model. And then you see they're stuck there. They're exploring everywhere. Still little weird things happen when you've got any kind of interesting path thing that the animals do. Every now and again the game will just forget that they can get down there. So yeah, let's just zoom down so we can go down the steps. I haven't yet seen the keepers do it, but, so maybe they can't make it, but just see a little water bit there. So we'll go round and we'll go out on one side. As I said, it's a little bit tight for them in terms of the water they've got. They don't have an enormous amount of water, but it seems all right to me. It's not loads under, and I have completely broken all the rules with the foliage and stuff because I just wanted it to look cool. So yeah, these little round planters I just made just kind of art shape pieces and stepped them up, and I put this kind of idea that they're being watered in there. So we'll scoot through the side here. And yeah, here's my little custom fence, which I noticed actually just a second ago, really annoyingly. There's some Z fighting in it, but it's not actually anything I can do anything about. It's actually the model, the bottom of the model itself actually has some Z fighting. Actually, look, that's the same piece there. It's not two pieces I've combined together. So yeah, couple of little custom. Oh, there's one standing on one leg. Super cool. That's so cool. The tiles and everything turned out really well. I'm really happy with the way that came out. It does give a sort of aquarium vibe as well. I think if you did that and then you went blue with it, you'd get a very sort of aquatic vibe that would work really well. So yeah, a few of these little kind of custom little gesture info boards and things. We've got another education thing here, just sort of talking about the fact that it's the shrimp that turn them from grey to pink. So yeah, just a little sort of infographic. Obviously, they shouldn't really be pink. They should be clear. I think shrimp when they're underwater are actually clear. And the last one is just a little. I keep doing this. I kind of started getting fascinated by the collective nouns for animals. So quite interestingly, there's often like multiple collective nouns for animals, depending on either if it's a family or a group. But I think there's just also a bunch of different ones. So quite interestingly, these have stand, which I thought was very appropriate, and regiment was also an interesting one I came across. And there's a few others. But yeah, I think that turned out pretty well. And I think this would fit quite nicely into a zoo. As I said, at the moment it's too big for a single habitat, too many pieces for a single habitat. But maybe at some point in the future I'll try and do something about that. I will be uploading this to the workshop as a park file, and also if you want to create these tiles yourself, I'll add some building pieces that I've created that I used for that. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, I think I said this earlier, Missoula Zoo is kind of carrying on, and we'll be back, I think, either next week or the week after with that. Yeah, so my name's Toes. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like and all that good stuff. I never remember to say that, but yeah, it does really help. And my name is Toves. Take it easy.